Hello and welcome to Starcast from Planet Waves. I'm Eric Francis Coppolino, the author of the Planet Waves horoscope and the host of Planet Waves FM on Pacifica Radio. Thank you for joining me. Tonight's edition is for the September 5th weekly horoscope and the September 5th article. I'll have more to say about both of those in a minute, but first a quick housekeeping hint. We will begin sale of the 2025 annual edition called The Awakening. This is, I am told by my tech team, the 27th annual edition of Planet Waves. Quite incredible. I began with the 1999 edition. I can never quite... I get confused with the 9 and the 0, and then you add the 25 or 6 or whatever it might be. So anyway, I've done quite a few of these things, and they have become something of a stalwart tradition on the internet. 30 years, 27 years is almost it is a generation, actually. That's about how long, on average, a generation is. So that's kind of amazing, and I am still as lit up about doing these as ever. In some ways, more so because the astrology just gets more interesting, and it seems like we really need to understand what our particular moment in history is about. So we will send out a notice sometime overnight, Friday into Saturday, for The Awakening, the 2025 annual edition. This will be largely focused on, this edition will be focused on the twin conjunctions in Aries. You thought we had a lot of Aries this year with that total solar eclipse conjunct Chiron. Well, we're getting ramped up yet again, and that will be in the form of Saturn and Neptune entering Aries at the same time and hanging around the Aries point for a year. That is big, clear through the spring of 2026. So this annual is going to go out into the spring of 2026, so it's really going to be like 5 or 6 seasons. And then the conjunction of Chiron and Eris, which spans from May of 25 out to March of 26 with a wide time orb. This is one of those outer planet conjunctions that will spin the world on its finger. And so much Aries is putting the pressure on people to wake up and pay attention. This is very difficult astrology to stay asleep under. It is very difficult to walk around in a trance with this much going on, though the digital haze is getting awfully thick, and we kind of think that we're living in the middle of this deep fake where not only can we not tell what's true and what's false, but in many people's minds, there is no such thing as true. And that is anarchy. It's not going to work for us to live that particular way. So I will have some responses to that in the 2025 annual edition. Looking forward to doing this. I'm already well underway casting the charts. I've got a lot of the chapter titles, a work plan, and all of that. So I'll have more updates on future editions of Starcast and of Planet Waves FM. No edition this week. Planet Waves FM is now going to be on a new moon, full moon schedule for a while, at least through the end of the year. And I'm going to test out having it be on a more natural rhythm rather than connected to the civic calendar, and see how my body likes doing that. And this is a program in a new, more intimate, personal format. All right, so today's horoscope is based on the chart for September 11th, 2024. That is the quarter moon. It would be the first quarter moon since we're just coming out of the new moon phase some days ago, not too many days ago. So that's the sun in this chart, 19 degrees even, Virgo, moon 19 degrees even of Sagittarius. And this is all lined up with Jupiter in Gemini, and the Jupiter-Saturn square, which spans Pisces to Gemini. This square is a big deal, and I don't know what's going on the other astrology blogs. I'm sure someone is talking about it, but part of the sense of, oh my God, this is the last chance, this could be it, even though we live in this apocalyptic society that's just in love with, various different tales of being left behind and ascensions and things like that. Missing the point, of course, that we all have ascended to the internet. We're living. We're not living. We didn't make it to 5D. We made it to 4.5D, which is the digital sphere. Anyway, I think that this sense of desperation, that this is our last chance at something, whatever, it doesn't matter what, is an outgrowth of a response to these two massive planets being at a 90-degree angle to one another. Together, they're about something like 800 times the mass of the Earth and about 23-ish hundred times the size of the Earth. I don't have that exactly right, but it's more than 2,000 times the size of the Earth. They are very large planets, almost mini suns. They are mini solar systems combined with about 200 natural satellites between Jupiter and Saturn. It's pretty crazy. I would love to see those places. It would be cool, but I'm almost as happy to look at them in my charts every day and every week. So anyway, the Jupiter-Saturn square is lit up by the Moon-Sun square. So we can expect kind of a provocation of this square and an enhanced sense of restlessness. So this, combined with everything else going on, Mars is newly in the sign Cancer. That entered on the 4th, September 4th. Mars went void, of course. Or maybe it was it was the third Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact chart. But anyway, earlier this week, Mars entered Cancer. What's interesting here is that Mars will be in Cancer for about 2 months as it slows down to its retrograde phase, which begins on, where have I got that chart handy? There's so many facts in astrology, and I'm not working from a script. So I'm working on the December horoscopes right now, and I've got that set of the Mars retrograde and direct. Mars stations retrograde on December 6th. It stations direct on February 23rd. So on the way to stationing retrograde, Mars slows down. The thing with Mars retrograde is that Mars spends about 6 months, usually in about a 40-degree, very narrow range of the zodiac, and it just hangs out there for about 6 months, and then it leaves there, and then it whips around all the other 11 signs in about 18 months, and then it repeats that process. It slows down, it stays concentrated in one small part of the zodiac. We go through the retrograde process. So Mars will be moving through Cancer slowly. Slow means influential in astrological terms. It's going to be slowing down to the speed of Jupiter, and then it'll slow down to the speed of Saturn, and then it'll slow down to the speed of Pluto, station retrograde, and then do that whole thing in reverse. Mars goes into Leo, a few degrees into Leo. It will be conjunct a point called Vulcanus. That's one of those mystical planets without a body that I love to put into my charts and talk about. Vulcanus. So it stations retrograde conjunct Vulcanus. That's going to release a lot of energy. And the thing with the retrograde is being careful not to take out the assertion or the aggression of Mars on yourself as guilt, as resentment, as jealousy, as fear. You think these are things acted out on others, particularly guilt and resentment and jealousy, but these are reflexive emotions. And Mars is very, very cautious of these. And Leo is largely a comment on the whole matter of self-worth and self-value and the need to be at the center of things. And one thing that the internet has done is it has largely decentralized things. This includes even major players like Google, which are not as powerful as they used to be. Their only power comes from the amount of money they have and their ability to suppress search results, which nobody much follows anyway. So you've got all these different large entities, even though it seems like quite a cartel, and they can certainly act in concert, and they do, there's still a decentralized quality. And plus, if you think you have trouble building followers to your Instagram, imagine that you're Lady Gaga, not happy with 3 million followers. You want to have 10 million followers. So it's the same thing. It's only a matter of scale. And the digital realm has a way of making everyone feel irrelevant, unimportant, and like they're getting lost in the sauce. And we all kind of are. But then there's the disembodiment factor going on, which is really at the root of that sense of being lost in the sauce. And the disembodiment factor makes it much easier for free-floating rage, resentment, and anxiety to take up residence in individuals and in these little mini collectives and bubbles in the global village, where you have a lot of self-appointed experts who seem to know nothing, and then you have a lot of disembodied people picking up on their rage and their resentment and their guilt. One thing that I notice as a presenter who is in the good vibes region of consciousness, right? You click on Planet Waves, you're not reading about doom and gloom. At the worst, I'm going to tell you something weird happened, and I'm going to have, at minimum, an interesting comment on it. I'm not like saying the world is ending, except I have spent the last month and a half unsubscribing from Substacks, most of which I was not a paying subscriber to because I wouldn't pay for this crap. I've kept all my paid Substacks. I have no need to. I canceled one. One guy went completely nuts, but I guess I still owe him. I'm still paying him. I'm just not reading him. So I've kept all my friends' Substacks paid subscriptions, which I do make sure I subscribe to people I say are my friends. These Substacks would come in to my inbox every day, and either they would be completely irrelevant, misinformed, deceptive, or provoking of an anxiety attack, not to mention that they are all ugly as sin. Am I the only person who takes care into the design of my Substacks who's not using AI-generated imagery or photographs of the screen from a phone? And so anything that was stupid, ugly, deceptive, that came in twice a day, that was stupid, ugly, and deceptive, I've made a little video game out of this. I don't really play video games, but I played one during Mercury retrograde called Unsubscribe from Misinformation and Disinformation. But I'm noticing that the internet seems to have the especially Substack, this content platform that you may be listening to me on now, is like driven by bloodlust. And people are supporting this, that the Substacks that have the massive followings, 30, 40, 50,000, a million people, are all driving anxiety narratives. What is it? So you get off of CNN and MSNBC because they're informing you and pumping you full of fear, and then you tune into whatever Robert Belode or Peter McCullough or these other Substacks that are just basically doing the exact same thing. You're tired of seeing Anthony Fauci's face, so you sign up for Pete McCullough saying the exact same thing that Fauci was saying, but he's supposed to be some kind of a dissonant. It's just like, who needs this? We don't need this. And I think as long as people are going to be disembodied and undiscerning, we're going to get this. There's only so much we can do to change the ground, but we can do a little, and we can create subculture. So that's my rant on the bloodlust of the internet. Now we will return to our astrology program. So Mars in Cancer. Now Mars in Cancer, the next thing Mars in Cancer is going to do is it is early in the phases of, and will continue to make an opposition to what I've been calling the Hunger Games group in early Capricorn. That's this cluster of 5 minor planets, now Ceres direct, Pholus, Quaoar, Ixion, and Cupido. Wow, that's been really interesting. This is going on all summer. This is the whole business that's been at 90 degrees to the lunar nodes. That's called square the lunar nodes. What are the lunar nodes? Well, it's hard to explain the lunar nodes, but the lunar nodes are like this spiritual digestion tract. And whatever is at 90 degrees to the nodes is going to be the thing that has to be addressed in some way before that process of spiritual digestion will continue. So if you're like the boa constrictor that swallowed an elephant of Little Prince fame, what is square the lunar nodes is the elephant that has to be digested. It almost kind of looks like it. So everything is balancing on this Hunger Games aspect. I've referred to this a lot of times. I'm surprised I'm not getting any feedback on this. It's kind of lonely when I kind of develop an original, unique astrological theory. Be bold. Add a comment about this. I will add this Hunger Games article to this podcast, wherever it is. Let me figure out where to put it. Look at the top of the horoscope. How about that? It'll say, here is the Hunger Games article I'm referring to. It'll be at the top, wherever the horoscope is, which is always connected to StarCast. And then we'll put it on StarCast, wherever that also appears. This is an important development. And the fact that it's all minor planets, Ceres, which was discovered in 1801, not so minor. Minor planet number 1 is not that minor. And then Pholus, the second centaur in the Chiron group, and Ixion and Quaoar, very important planets. Quaoar, I can never get that right. That is minor planet number 50,000. The astronomers involved in the discovery and the naming of that thought that this discovery was so important, they gave it an honorific name, number 50,000 Quaoar. That goes along with 20,000 Varuna. 20,000 Varuna is out in Leo. We'll come back to that on a different day. So this group in early Capricorn is the pure mishigas and insanity of the family that we are all dragging around with us, and then that gets projected onto society as the mishigas and the madness of the entire society, which is coming from something in the collective unconsciousness, something in the collective, and then it's being projected onto this thing, this big screen that we call society. And then it's like something besides us, like the patriarchy. Like, who's actually in the patriarchy? Well, nobody. It's just this thing that exists as an abstraction. Like, when was the last time, if you are a believer in the patriarchy, besides Donald Trump, who's not, that's just a joke to think that he's the patriarchy, but when, besides Donald Trump, did you say, that person, he's part of the patriarchy? And what about all the women who are part of the patriarchy? The whole thing is a phantom. It is a fantasy. But it is a fantasy with a source in delusion, and that delusion is the way that our parents treated us. Our parents, for the most part, love them though we may, rest in peace though they may, had all kinds of problems. But we view them as the gods and the goddesses. And we tend to not want to look honestly and say, oh, these people had problems. And I have likened this because Pholus is at the middle of this whole thing. Really, most astrologers will say, oh, this is the conjunction of Pholus and Ceres. Well, what's Pholus and Ceres about? Well, it's about the grape and the grain, as I've explained a number of times. Pholus being the grape, the wine, the myth of Pholus has a central metaphor, a huge vat of wine that was the collective property of all the centaurs that Heracles wanted a drink of. So he got one, and then a war. And Ceres is the grain. Ceres is the namesake of cereal. Ceres is the Gaia Earth Mother, but it's got agrarian association, so it's kind of like the post-agrarian Earth Mother. Gaia is like the pre-agrarian Earth Mother. Ceres is like the last 10,000 years of Earth Mother, goddess figurines and all of that stuff. And, goddess great, goddess good. Let us thank you for our food, as was not said on Romper Room. That is Ceres. It is about grain. But what happens to the grain? Much of the grain is made into whiskey and rye, bourbon, hay heavy, and a bottle of bread, as Bob Dylan said to us. So this is starting. Its maximum intensity has peaked, but it is still there. The lunar nodes are still at 6 and 45. You've got Ixion and Cupido are now right square that. We're now tuned into like the evil relative in Ixion, the person with absolutely no moral bearings. Couldn't give a toss about right or wrong. Wow, that's a sign of our times. Plus, Cupido, this is the imaginary planet, which is glyph is a combination of Jupiter and Venus. That's the gathering point, whatever it may be, and the artist. So if you're listening to me, you were probably the artist in the family. And by artist, I mean the sensitive person who was not into this whole thing and didn't necessarily want to, play with the other kids when they were pulling spiders apart. This is not your thing. It just seemed cruel and mean. So I assume that these are my listeners, or the reformed spider pullers apart. Well, we're schlepping around this karma until we are not. And at the moment, we are in a kind of a crisis of meanness and amorality. It is just, to me, it seems like, especially in the digital realm, any opportunity to be mean is a good opportunity. Even on the street, the people, principally women, who don't even look at me as if I was the hired help, and they were aristocrats. If you're an aristocrat, the maid walks by, you don't look at the maid in the eyes. You do not look down at the lower caste. Well, that's how I feel walking around my neighborhood. Like, may I shine your shoes? What's up? Well, let's pay attention to this. So we don't need to be this way. This is not making the world a better place. As McCartney said, it's only a fool who plays it cool by making his world a little colder. So let's not play it cool. Let's play it warm. And stop and meet the dogs and talk to people and put money in their meter when you see that it doesn't have any time left on it, and do your little part. There's a lot you can do, and you'll make someone's day happier. They won't get a ticket, and you'll feel better. And it's a plus net gain all around. Total investment, 25 cents. And that is what I have to say to you today. At some point soon, I'm going to do a special edition StarCast on the inauguration chart, and I'm going to explain, in my view, why it's irrelevant who gets elected. What matters is the inauguration itself. That is the chart for the new presidency. The election is not the charge for the new presidency. Plus, I have a thick folder growing of past historical events to look at. My kind of tech mind aboard, Eli Tuttle, saying, well, do the current charts. Do stick with news. So I'm going to do a hybrid of both of those. But we're going to do the inauguration chart. That's kind of a forthcoming current event. And I will have also a special tribute to my friend and teacher, Jeffrey Cornelius, author of The Moment of Astrology, who left the earthly realm a couple of weeks ago. And I'm going to tell you what I learned from that beautiful soul. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Check for the announcement for The Awakening overnight, Friday, to Saturday. Thank you to all of our new subscribers and returning subscribers. Lots of love. And bye for now.